Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
If you're wondering about what you can do if you find yourself in an FCPA compliance action, check out the FCPA Survival Guide. It's my latest book. It's sponsored by Ethico, and in it, I take up and write the top 10 things you can do to reduce your overall fine and penalty if you find yourself in an FCPA enforcement action. So check out the FCPA Survival Guide. The Daily Compliance News for January 24, 2025, the DEI Goes to War edition. We begin with this story from the New York Times. DEI did not attack, but Trump has escalated his attacks on DEI, and he has instructed government employees to inform on their fellow colleagues who engage in DEI. No word about whether if they think about it, they'll have to be informed upon. Some companies are standing up, some companies are folding, and the war continues. Next up from Aljazeera, Vietnamese police announced the dismantling of a $1.2 billion money laundering ring. Police in Da Nang say the bust is the biggest money laundering case ever exposed in that city, and it is from between 2022 and 2024, members of the ring, including bank employees, laundered money through the bank. So, big win for the AML folks. Next up, from the Financial Times, Friedrich Merz, the front runner in the race to become Germany's chancellor, has warned German companies about the great risk of investing into China. He says to the German economy that to do so involves great risk. Why? Well, number one, because it's China. Number two, obviously because of the differences in the approaches of China and not abiding by the Western rule of law standards. And he notes you can expect major disruptions if you take this risk. And finally, in a story near and dear to the heart of all Texans, or indeed anyone who travels the interstate motorways, if you want to increase the economic growth of your town, get a Buc-Ee's. Yes, the iconic Texas company, which is quickly becoming the most famous export of our great state, head of Bluebell ice cream, is and it has the best gold standard bathrooms of anywhere in the world. But it's also an economic retail machine, driving millions of dollars in revenue to localities. Starting wages are $20 an hour, and it hires more people than any factory you may bring in. So you want to grow, get a Buc-Ee's. At the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.